What's going on, guys? JPB Duel here. Hope you guys are enjoying your Tuesday, and for today's matchup we have an Adventure Pranks versus a 3-axis Crystron Halq with me as the prankster going first. Now, as you guys know, the end of the season, the Halq ban is coming in, so people are spamming it like crazy right now, and this was one of the games where I did go up against this combo. Thankfully, we are going first, so I start off my combo by going into my adventure combo. We had the Foolish Burial in our hand, we use it to send Enchantress to the graveyard, and the Enchantress gets a bait on the Ash Blossom. Now right here, you have to ask yourself, do you want to use the Call by the Grave to negate the opponent's Ash Blossom, and maybe if he has a Maxi in his hand, run into a Maxi, which would just stop your combo right then and there, because as you guys see, once I use this Call by the Grave on this Ash Blossom, I have no way to negate my opponent's Maxi. So I decided I would rather Call by the Grave the Maxi if my opponent does Maxi me over him Ash Blossoming my adventure combo. So I allow the Ash Blossom to go through, which negates my Enchantress, then we normal out the Roxy's and we go up into our combo. Now again, another thing you guys have to ask yourself, with the Roxy start, if you want to proceed into your combo, you know you have to banish one card from your hand and then get a draw to get a special summon on the field. Ideally, if you do not have banished fodder in your hand, or if your hand is really good, you do not want to start with Roxy's to get that banish off and throw away one potentially useful card for your turn or for your opponent's turn or for any counters for hand traps. So with the Roxy's activation, what I decided to do was that if my opponent does not Maxi me right here, right now, that means he does not have the Maxi. So again, I decided to banish the Call by the Grave in my hand, saying that my opponent does not have a Maxi. This is all on the resolution, not the activation. If the opponent wanted to activate Maxi, they would chain link it to the activation of Roxy's, because they can't do it on the resolution. So I banished the Call by the Grave from my hand. I kept the Maxi, hoping that my opponent would be playing a combo deck. So we banished the Call by the Grave. I draw into a copy of Fancies. Again, this is all situational, where in what scenario you want to get what banished. So in this specific situation, I did not want to get rid of either the Forbidden Droplet or the Maxi. I said, since my opponent is not showing any signs of Maxiing me, I will just banish the Call by the Grave and get that card out of my hand, and maybe these two cards that I keep in my hand will prove to be useful on my opponent's turn. Now, if you guys know my deck list, you guys know I only run one copy of Forbidden Droplet, so Forbidden Droplet was not going from my hand anyways. It was between the Maxi and Call by the Grave, and I chose the Call by the Grave for the reasons I stated before. Then we get our full combo going, and since I had a copy of Fancies in my hand off of the Roxy's Banish plus Draw, we put a copy of Dropsies on the field. Don't want to put identical cards on the field. We set down Forbidden, set down our Pandemonium, activate our Pranks, recycle, draw into a Fateful Adventure. My opponent draws. On his draw, we activate our Bow Wow Bark, getting the two pieces we need for the Butler combo into our hand. Now again, I have been extremely vocal about this. If you guys can, always get the pieces you need for the Butler combo into your hand, because once the turn switch is over, the priority is on your opponent to do something. You cannot activate Pandemonium before your opponent takes an action. So if you have two or more cards on the field and you get a Sphere mode, if you have two cards you get Lava Golem, if you have a single card you could get Kaiju. So in those scenarios, if you do not have all three Butler cards in your hand, that means you cannot go into your Butler. That's the reason why I keep telling you guys, get all three cards you can for the Butler combo into your hand anytime if it's possible. Again, if I had drawn into a nib, I could have kept the Pandemonium on the field. If my opponent pushes past 5, I could have nibbed him, then gone into my Pandemonium, because I would have all three cards I require for the Butler combo in my hand, basically getting me 3 Raigekis in one single turn. So you guys have to be mindful about these little details. Opponent goes up into the Enchantress Banish to get the right into the hand, and once I see the opponent activating the right, that's when I chain link my Maxi to it. Again, Another important tip in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is that you do not want to preemptively fire off Maxi if you don't know what kind of deck your opponent is playing. Because they could be playing Dangers, they could deck you out, you never know. You have to be extremely careful. They could be playing back row set. That means your Maxi basically useless. You might want to save it for your turn when they get those cards in the field, so maybe you would draw something more useful on your turn, right? So, also another thing is you want to chain Maxi to a card that activates and specials out a card on the field. That way it becomes a guaranteed draw if your opponent cannot negate the Maxi. So here I chain link my Maxi to the activation of right. My opponent cannot negate the Maxi. My Maxi goes through. So now the opponent is under Maxi. We are drawing a bunch of cards. Now this top deck was absolutely ridiculous for me. The first card I drew from the Maxi off of the right special was Ash Blossom. And the opponent was trying to put DPE on the field with Fusion Destiny. Me drawing into Ash Blossom turned out to be a ridiculous draw. We know that the opponent does not have a Call by the Grave, the opponent does not have a Crossout, because if he had either of those cards, he would have used it on the Maxi. So we instantly proceed to Ash Blossom, the Fusion Destiny, negate the summon of DPE coming on the field. We do not want to deal with DPE. Even though I had a counter towards the DPE in the form of Forbidden Droplet, I would rather save my Forbidden Droplet for more useful play. My opponent normals out Sangan, so as I told you guys, he is playing 3-axis Crystron Halq, so Sangan is a pretty important card in that deck. So he gets the Draco back, he activates the Search for the Fateful Adventure, gets the Griffin, puts the Draco back, and with the Draco back, the card he chose to target was my Pandemonium. Now in this specific instance, if he had chosen to target my Forbidden Droplet, I would not have done anything. I would have allowed this to go through, I would have kept my Pandemonium on the field till I know that I want to pop my opponent's field. In this certain situation, I don't want to pop his field. Just me popping Sangan will give him the Sangan activation from the graveyard, which will search him for a Maxi for my next turn. I did not want to deal with that. Sadly, the card he targeted turns out to be Pandemonium, so we pop it open and we go off into our Butler. Now, right here, the opponent chain links his Maxi to the activation of Pandemonium and then chains his Griffin to the activation of Maxi. So now I will be drawing one more card off of the Griffin, which turns out to be my Corridor. Such a good card for my next turn. Now this means the Omni Negate is online for my opponent. If I activate Butler and get my first pop, he's going to obviously negate it, to which we will be activating the Forbidden Droplet to pop the opponent's field. There's the Pandemonium, we go up into our Butler. Butler comes on the field face-up defense. Keep in mind, opponent's turn, you want to keep all the cards face-up defense, or if you're going turn 1, you want to keep all your cards face-up defense to play around Lightning Storm, and on your opponent's turn, play around a Forbidden Droplet, because Forbidden Droplet only halves the attack of a monster, not the defense. So we get all our graveyard activations. By all, I mean only Lamseas and Dropsies. As you guys saw right here, I'm not activating my Fancies because I'm not going to be specialing out cards on the field. I do not have a need to throw a card into my graveyard off of my Fancies. We are currently under Maxi. You can choose to not special out cards on the field. Just get the effect activations from the graveyard. My opponent, as I told you guys before, instantly Griffins my Butler's first pop, so I activate the Forbidden Droplet, send my copy of Pranks on the field to the graveyard. The reason why I sent a spell over a monster is because, again, even though this guy has not drawn into a crossout or does not have a crossout, let's say if he had a crossout in his hand, by sending a spell card, since we know he has no more monster negates on the field to negate our spell card, the opponent cannot activate Crossout from his hand because we're sending a spell card to the graveyard with the Forbidden Droplet. So really important to play around all those scenarios with your Forbidden Droplet as well. It goes through, we negate the Griffin Rider, and my Butler goes through, pops the opponent's field completely. We get the Lamseas Burn, the Dropsies heal, and that's pretty much it for it right now. The Sangan activates, draws him another Maxi. He hard drew into a copy of Corridor, so he activates Corridor, gets the Enchantress recycle, and goes up into Colossus. Colossus face-up defense, so that's another +2 draws for me off of my Maxi. Now, my opponent just passes his turn over, nothing, no set, anything. we know for a fact one card in his hand is a Maxi. So we're not gonna get a really good turn this turn, nor can we kill him this turn unless we give him a bunch of card draws. Because this Colossus on the field is immune to destruction through battle or card effect once. Since he has a Thunder monster in the graveyard, he could banish, which is the Corridor. So main phase 1, we activate the Fateful Adventure, we got off of the Maxi, we activate the Corridor to recycle our Meowmoo, and there it is, instantly Maxi in my face. So my whole play was just to put the Corridor on the field, go into Colossus, which is a 2.6k attack, and normal out a card from my hand, which could attack into my opponent, which was my Dropsies. Fansies has 0 attack, don't want to do that. And since we have a card we can use to go into our combo next turn, I'm okay with keeping the Fansies in my hand and normaling out my Dropsies, since we already got the Meowmoo recycle off of the Corridor. And the reason for going into the Colossus is to kill my opponent's Colossus, because as I told you guys before, it's immune to destruction through battle or card effect once this turn. He gets the banish off the Corridor, we kill off the Colossus with the Butler, whack him in the face for 1k with our Dropsies, activate the copy of our Adventure, get a copy of Enchantress, and throw it in the graveyard for potentially using it in our next turn. We set down our Imperm, and I end my turn with just that. My opponent normals out a copy of Ash Blossom. Now this is when I realized he probably has a side card in his hand to go into his Crystron Halq Fibrax. If he goes into his Crystron, there it is, that's a special. We have a copy of Imperm on the field, so the mandatory effect of Crystron activates on summon, which is pulling out a tuner from the deck and putting it on the field, and I instantly proceed to Imperm that card. Now as I was saying this, my opponent still stayed in the game till this point and does this combo, because I was pretty sure he drew into an out for my Butler. By out, I mean probably a Forbidden Droplet, I'm assuming. So that's the reason why he stayed out until now, even though he knows I have a Butler pop. But as soon as I use my Imperm on the Crystron Halq Fibrax, my opponent, seeing this, just scoops and leaves the game. That's going to be it for today's game, guys. If you guys do enjoy this kind of videos, please consider hitting the like button, subbing to my channel for more daily prank and video uploads, and if you guys are interested in the live version of all of this, I do live stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/jpbduel. Link along with my schedule and a link to my Discord will be in the video description itself for you guys to check out. This is JPBduel signing off for today. I'll see you all in the next video. Peace!